Do any of you guys remember Strawberry Shortcake, dude? Well, the Purple Pie Man is back and he's got a new hat. Friends, Magic the Gathering is mostly hats, right? You can tell how important a guy is in this game by how fanciful the hat is on his head. It's pretty much like that in real life too. The Pope, very important guy, fancy hat. Old-timey judges, they would decide your fate, dude. And they wear a wig, but that's really just a hat, brother. Donald Trump was the dang president of the United States. He had both a wig and a blazing red hat. So let's take a look at this guy. He's got a sweet chef hat with some cyberpunk goggles on it, but he's also got some text on the card. And we're gonna go into that. But first, like, subscribe, get your hat situated right on your head, dude, for some adventures in Eldraine. All right, we got Brenard Ginger Sculpture, not to be confused with Bernard, right? 1 green, white, and a blue for a legendary creature, human artificer. It's a 3/3. Each creature you control that's a food or a golem gets +2/+2 and has trample. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, you may exile it. If you do, create a token that's a copy of that creature, except it's a 1/1 food golem artifact creature token in addition to its other types, and has 2. Tap, sacrifice this artifact, you gain 3 life. Very interesting. So don't include any recursion strategies in this deck, because you're not going to be pulling stuff from the graveyard because all your creatures are going into exile. This is in Bant colors, right? Blue, white, and green. So you have access to the best removal, the best draw, and the best ramp. So your utility card should reflect that. Creatures that tap for mana will be good for ramp in this deck, and if they die, you can get them back with Brenard, right? But Brenard has no protection and no offensive weapons. It's a 3/3, and your deck will hinge upon him being on the battlefield. So you may want to include some creature cards that help protect him, like Vexilus Praetor. If this dies, then you get it back with Brenard. Bastion Protector is another good one. Indestructible will protect from board wipes, and Guardian Augmenter, an ECR award-winning familiar, can help make Brenard more resistant to targeted removal. Now, the other thing I first thought of when I saw this sweet chef is that he's excellent with splicers and golems in general. You have Blade Splicer out there, dude. I love this card. I pulled it out of a pack once and I was all excited to use it and never put it in one deck. 2 and a white for a creature, Phyrexian human artificer. It's a 1/1. When this thing enters the battlefield, create a 3/3 colorless Phyrexian golem artifact creature token. Golems you control have first strike. These were all errated to be Phyrexians in addition to their other types, but if they die or are sacrificed, you get them back, they grow. You get your enter the battlefield trigger. Your golems also get bigger with trample from Brenard's ability. And I'm not gonna lie, dude, she's kinda cute. So there are 8 splicers, and I won't go through them all, but March of the Machine Commander introduced the Darksteel Splicer. 6 and a white for a creature, Phyrexian Artificer. It's a 1/1. When this guy or another non-token Phyrexian enters the battlefield under your control, create X 3/3 colorless Phyrexian Golem artifact creature tokens, where X is the number of opponents you have. Golems you control have indestructible. If Brenard is on the battlefield, this puts 15 trampling indestructible power onto the battlefield for 7 mana. The effect is repeatable if you can sacrifice the Splicer, right? I'm going to pack in Skull Clamp in this deck specifically for the Splicers, as they're all 1/1s. Including this guy, old Itchy Nick over here, Salvage Splicer. 4 and a green for a legendary creature, Phyrexian human artificer. It's a 1/1. When this guy enters the battlefield, create a 3/3 Phyrexian colorless golem artifact creature token. I read those words out of order, dude. That was a test. Whenever an artifact is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on Ick, Tech Ick, and a +1/+1 counter on each golem you control. This thing has partner too. This guy has one big hand, like that arm wrestler fella or the guy from the M. Night Shyamalan movie about the mermaid. I don't remember the name of it. These all feed into golems all day, brother. Then you got old Malcator out there. He's an honorary splicer, but he's an elephant wizard, brother. Listen, this seems to be shaping up as an artifact creature deck, so this guy's going to trigger to make some golems at the beginning of your end step. I gotta be pure, brother. Remember when Danny DeVito covered himself in hand sanitizer and shaved his eyebrows in Sunny, man? Classic Malcator move right there. Now this guy's making tokens, and if you want to go all out on token production, which you do because Brenard makes food golem tokens, consider the token doublers in these colors. I usually don't recommend Mondrak, but it seems tailor-made for this deck. Anointed Procession, Parallel Lives, you get the picture, dude. Slotting these in would double up your splicers, but also double up any food golems tokens that Brenard makes. There are a number of just decent golems as well. Let's go into those. The old Solemn Simulacrum is a golem. Did you know that, dude? Do you ever consider that in the night when you're alone in your bedroom? Well, listen, he is. I think Solemn has kind of been crept out of the format a little bit lately. I don't see him as much anymore, but you can't deny the value, dude. Especially if you're getting 2 enters and 2 dice triggers. Hey, listen, man, Karn is also a golem, and he's a Legacy Reforged. It's 5 generic mana for a legendary artifact creature golem. This guy's power and toughness are each equal to the greatest mana value among artifacts you control. That includes him. At the beginning of your upkeep, add colorless for each artifact you control. This mana can't be spent to cast non-artifact spells, dude. Don't even try. Until the end of turn, you don't lose this mana as steps and phases end. It's a star. Also a golem, and helps you cast more golems and bigger creatures. This is a deck where Karn can really pull his weight, dude, even if it's a 5/5. Brenard makes him a 7/7 with trample. Yeah, listen, man, how about the old root wire out there, dude? Prototype it for 1 and a green. It's a 2/3. And then you sacrifice it for 3 green, create an XX colorless golem artifact creature token where X is 3 times a root wire amalgam's power, gains haste until end of turn, activate only as a sorcery. Okay, prototype this guy out, right? It's a 4/5 with Brenard out there. Then pay the 5, sack it. You're making a 4/4 golem that becomes a 6/6 with Brenard. And then this guy comes back, he's going to be a 3/3. Maybe that's not that great, right? Now that I'm thinking about it, but it sounded better in my head. Then you have this guy, the Cradle Clear Cutter. 6 generic mana for an artifact creature golem. It's a 3/6. You can prototype it for 2 and a green, and it's going to be a 1/3. Has tap, add an amount of green equal to Cradle Clear Cutter's power. This is tapping for 3 with Brenard out there, right? And it's a recurable golem mana dork. Oh man, Ginger Brute and Tough Cookie from the Eldraine sets work pretty well with this guy too. Tough Cookie brings some value and power to the battlefield with a little animated food friend. There are also generic artifact creature cost reducers like Foundry and Spectre and the like. These are going to help keep the cost down on your artifact creatures. Now we also have some interesting Urzas. You got the Prince of Krug out there, dude. 2 white and a blue for a legendary creature, Human Artificer. It's a 2/3. Artifact creatures you control get +2/+2, and you can pay 6, create a token that's a copy of target artifact you control, except it's a 1/1 soldier creature in addition to its other types. This guy can duplicate our return splicers or just sit there pumping our golems and our food golems, dude. This guy's the Prince of Krug, man. That's back when he was in a rock band. Cleveland, are you ready for the Prince of Krug? And then you got Urza Lord Protector, 1 white and a blue for a legendary creature, Human Artificer. It's a 2/4. Artifact, instant, and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. That's pretty amazing right there, dude. And then you can meld them if you have this guy in the Might Stone and the Weak Stone. The Might Stone and the Weak Stone is a decent bit of ramp we can use to cast our artifact creatures anyways. Not a bad include. Heck, maybe you meld those two and go ham there, dude. Maybe this is the deck for that. Alright. We got Urza Lord High Artificer, 2 blue for a legendary creature, Human Artificer. It's a 1/4. This guy's cheaper than ever because they keep reprinting them. When this guy enters the battlefield, create your little construct token, right? Tap an untapped artifact you control, add blue. Has all 5, shuffle your library, exile the top card. Until the end of turn, you may play that card without paying its mana cost. So basically, you can play a land off of that if you don't hit a spell. This is cheaper than ever, dude. It's had a few reprints, brings its own construct, which will hopefully be getting big, and can ramp using our food golems. Now you also have very decent artifact creature support in blue that's amazing, like Research Thief here, 4 and a blue for an artifact creature, Moonfolk Wizard with flash and flying. Whenever an artifact creature you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. This is very underrated in a deck like this where you're swinging in with big golems. And speaking of which, you get to double dip with cards like Ancient Stone Idol and Triplicate Titan. These are your high-end beaters, brother. But if they die, just get them back with a Brenard, right? Triplicate Titan is really nice because it makes all those little golems, dude. If you're putting in cards like this, better include a lot of ramp. An artifact deck that isn't too crazy to think about, though. Now lastly, you may want to run some creatures that sacrifice themselves, like Sakura Tribe Elder. You get 2 lands on the battlefield for the price of 1, and you may be able to bang him with a 3/3 Sakura Tribe Elder Golem food for a few turns, dude. Selfless Spirit's another one that can be sacrificed in response to your board wipe. The token, however, when it is created, will not have indestructible. The set of creatures affected have to be on the battlefield. It's a little better if you sacrifice in response to a targeted destruction effect. Canker Bloom, dude. They tried to charge me $1,500 for the removal of my Canker Bloom. 1 and a green for a creature at Phyrexian Fungus. It's a 3/2. It has 1 sacrifice that you can destroy target artifact or target enchantment, or you can proliferate. This is a criminally underplayed card. Get 2 for the price of 1, brother. And don't forget one of my favorite cards of all time, the Kuldotha Forge Master. 5 generic mana for an artifact creature construct. It's a 3/5. Has tap, sacrifice 3 artifacts, search your library for an artifact card, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle. This thing is such a house, especially in this deck, dude. Sacrifice some of your stuff to get that Triplicate Titan out there, go ham next turn, or you can get some kind of combo if you're that kind of player, right? Plus this guy, and whatever non-token artifacts you sacrifice can come back with Brenard. You also have a bunch of creatures that can sacrifice themselves to help control the board. You got Glenelendra Archmage. This can get a triple dip with a persist trigger, dude, then come back later as a food golem with Brenard. Remember, Brenard's dies trigger is a May ability. You don't have to do it if you want to use the persist trigger. I mean, listen, man, you can do some truly wacky stuff with this commander, and that's why I really like it. I initially liked it as like a Golem tribal commander, you know what I mean, with all these splicers that I always wanted to use but didn't have a deck. But I mean, with Brenard out there, cast Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath. Whenever this guy enters the battlefield or attacks, you gain 3 life, draw a card, then you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. Then he dies to his first ability. Brenard exiles him, he comes back as a food golem. You gain 3 life and draw a card, then you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. Dang, that's basically a 3-mana sorcery that gains you 6 life, draws 2 cards, and potentially puts out 2 lands untapped. I'd play the heck out of that, dude. There's also tricky stuff you can do when he enters as an artifact, like sacrifice him to Cold Oath the Forge Master. Anyways, man, don't sleep on Brenard Ginger Sculptor. This is a very powerful, very tricky, and effective value commander that brings crazy golem synergy to the table. These are just some spitball suggestions, you know what I'm saying? I actually really like this guy. I wish he wasn't a chef. I wish he was like a Phyrexian, just some bad dude with giant arms. But, I mean, listen, you take what you can get in this world, right? You can lean into artifact creatures and self-sacrificing creatures to double dip your gingerbread cookies into your dang mouth, dude. Dip them into the milk first. Keep your glycemic intake under control, though. Make sure you do a little cardio if you're going to be out there eating cookies all day, dude. You're sucking down 1,500 calories of confections from the magical hat, man. Keep it tight, you legends out there. Sneaky G from Better Commander signing off.